Hello, my friends. Today we'll start with the fact that the situation in the Pokrovsk direction is getting worse again. According to the latest information, Russian forces are already moving through Pokrovsk in vehicles. Unfortunately, the bad weather is now playing in the Russians' favor. If earlier we saw Russian troops infiltrating Pokrovsk only on foot, at most sometimes they tried to break through on motorcycles, today, because of the fog, we've already spotted the first Russian military pickup truck inside the city. They slowly threw away barricades and drove through the streets of Pokrovsk. This shows that logistics are no longer under the control of our drone pilots, and Russians can bring more equipment into the city. Friends, unfortunately, this is direct evidence that Pokrovsk is actively falling under the Russian control. If they're already moving around in pickups, it means that in the coming days they'll be able to bring in a large number of drones, ammunition, and other supplies to strengthen their positions in the city and to push the armed forces of Ukraine further back. So the situation is catastrophic. At the same time, Russians showed a video of how they turned an old Bukhanka van into a drone vehicle. For those who know what a Bukhanka is, you understand that it doesn't even have an automatic gearbox. Everything there is purely mechanical. And yet, the Russians made it work remotely. Let's take a look at it.
Надя, давай. Первая передача есть. Вторая есть. Третья есть. Четвертая. Задняя. Все, не видит, не уже. Направо. Нет, вон Буханка.
Here is what Russian war bloggers wrote about it. We made a WAS Bukhanka fully unmanned. It's controlled remotely from a gaming steering wheel setup with pedals, gas, brake, clutch, gear shifting, and even steering rotation. The control module is removable, so the van can be driven either manually or remotely after installing the module in just 5 minutes. Control range is unlimited and backed up via Wi-Fi, radio channel 4G, and Starlink. What do you think? Is this a useful thing? We think it is for delivering ammo and other logistics tasks. Most importantly, it saves our soldiers' lives. Friends, make sure to share your opinion about this in the comments. What do you think about it? Ukrainian soldiers are also reporting a difficult situation in Myrnohrad. The Russians made a small advance to the southeast of the residential area and have essentially secured positions there. But the main point isn't the number of meters, it's the direction. Right now, they're trying to expand the gray zone around this hidden neighborhood, working along the flanks, preparing for an encirclement from two sides, and most likely setting up a bridgehead. This means only one thing. In this part of the city, heavy and exhausting battles will soon break out because the Russians are looking for a way to close in on our positions and force the fighters to expose themselves. At the same time, there is active use of FPV drones from the Rubicon Center. I roughly marked the areas where this happens, so guys, be very careful in those zones. The Russians don't have any lightning breakthroughs at the moment. For now, they're just probing our defense, burning positions, trying to find weak spots, communication nodes, and supply routes. This is standard tactics, reconnaissance by fire, preparation for a bigger move. So we can't relax. If we give them time and space, they'll strike exactly where it hurts and cut off communication lines, isolated strong points, and open approaches. It's important not to react impulsively to their test pushes, but instead to strengthen reconnaissance and minimize risks for the infantry. Otherwise, the battle there could turn into a long, bloody struggle where the Russians dictate the pace. Meanwhile, let's move to the Dobropillia direction. Here, the Russians continue to assault Suvorova, Nikanorovka, and are trying to break through near the village of Mayak. Shelling of Dobropillia also continues, but the front line remains unchanged. And now let's move on to the Novopavlivka direction. Here the Russians have increased their activity and are trying to break through to the Filia area across the fields. They are also launching direct assaults. In addition, fighting continues for the outskirts of Ivanivka and Alexandrograd. Despite very high Russian activity, there have been no changes over the past day. The battles are ongoing. In the direction of the village of Pokrovsk, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, the Russians are assaulting Sichneve, Sosnivka, Zlagoda, Rybne, and Uspenivka. At the same time, it was confirmed yesterday that the Ukrainian forces pushed the Russians back from the area near Oleksiivka. So there are positive changes along the front line, but Russian activity remains very high and the situation is still difficult. In the Hulyaipole direction, the Russians have advanced closer to the village of Zeleny High and are already attempting to storm it. They are also breaking through from the village of Okhotnichne, and the situation here has also started to worsen. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Russians are assaulting Stepove and carrying out a large number of attacks. It's becoming clear that they are conducting artillery preparation in the areas of Stepnohirsk and Primorsk to advance along the Kakhovka reservoir directly toward Zaporizhzhia. In the Kherson direction, the Russians are also actively shelling the entire frontline area and attempt to advance near the Antonivsky Bridge. However, the Russians haven't achieved any success, and the front line has remained unchanged over the past day. Now let's move on to the Kostiantynivka direction. Here, the Russians are pushing forward in the area of Chasiv Yar, assaulting Stupochki, advancing on the outskirts of Kostiantynivka, attacking Plashiyivka and Klebenbyk, and moving toward Rusin Yar. Meanwhile, Ukrainian soldiers have shared videos showing how they continue to eliminate Russian forces on the outskirts of the city where the Russians are trying to establish positions. Destruction of Russians' forward position in the southeastern part of Kostiantynivka. The Russians continue the attempts to fortify individual positions in the city, but without success. Thus, the attacks continue. And in the Kramatorsk direction, the situation has begun to worsen. The Russians have started conducting offensive actions more frequently and managed to advance through the fields between the villages of Maiske and Markove. They are also assaulting Orikhovo-Vasilivka and Shalin Kramatorsk. The city is now only 14 kilometers away. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are attacking Yampel, Dronivka, Siversk, and Zvanivka and attempting to advance from the area of Peroyizne. However, there have been no changes over the past day and all attacks are still being successfully repelled. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are assaulting Zarychne, advancing beyond Kolodezi and attacking Drobышеvo and Korovy Yar. They are also trying to break through in the area of Shandrygolove and Karpivka. In the Borova direction, the Russians are assaulting Boguslavka and Novopavlivka and attempting to advance toward Novoyegorivka. So far, there have been no changes over the past day, and the Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Kupyansk direction, assaults on Petropavlivka continue, and the Russians are attempting to advance in the area of Pishane. However, there is no new information regarding Kupyansk itself, and the front line here remains unchanged. In the Velykyi Burluk direction, the Russians are assaulting Bologivka, but they have achieved no success, and the situation hasn't changed over the past day. In the Kharkiv direction, the situation remains stable. The Russians are not launching new assaults. However, fighting continues in Vovchansk and near the village of Sinelnikove. Ukrainian soldiers have confirmed a slight Russian advance. Elimination of Russian troops near near a two-story building in the southern part of Vovchansk. Recently, the Russians staged yet another flag planting in this part of the city. Reportedly, the footage shows the destruction of the same soldiers who took part in that stunt. On the map, the gray zone has expanded. The Russians are increasingly appearing in the southern part of Vovchansk. For now, the situation in the city looks rather uncertain, and the exact front line is still being clarified. In the Sumy direction, the Russians are attempting to advance near Varachine and Yablonivka, but without success. The front line has remained unchanged over the past day. Meanwhile, Russia struck a road in Sumy with a drone, once again proving that the range of these drones is increasing, and as a result, the frontline zone is also automatically expanding. Therefore, the situation is deteriorating. And NATO's Secretary General has stated that the world must prepare for a long-term confrontation with Russia. Russia and its allies are preparing for a prolonged confrontation, said the NATO chief. According to him, in the foreseeable future, Russia will remain a destabilizing factor in Europe and around the world. At the same time, Moscow is not acting alone. The aggressor is cooperating with China, North Korea, Iran, and other nations. They are strengthening defense cooperation to an unprecedented level and preparing for long-term confrontation. We cannot be naive, we must be ready, Rutte emphasized. Meanwhile, Trump continues to claim that India has stopped buying oil from Russia.
Can I ask you a question about India? How's the talks with Prime Minister Modi going on a trade deal, and when do
Largely stop buying oil from Russia.
When you plan
And
to
he's a
launch?
friend of mine, and we speak, and he wants me to go there. We'll figure that out. I'll go. I had a great trip there with Prime Minister Modi. He's a great man.
So it's the same story again. Everyone's friends, everyone has good relations, but at the same time, everyone keeps funding Russia, and the war goes on. Meanwhile, Lukashenko has invited Ukrainians to come to Belarus, probably due to some European countries aren't too happy about the large number of refugees.
Even I, when I cancelled my trip to Mosul, thought, well, with the war in Ukraine going on, it doesn't feel right for us to be celebrating or for the president to travel. Of course, that would be noticed. But I thought Ukrainians will forgive me. After all, we're connecting both sides of the river for them too. We're open. Please come, Ukrainians. We'll gladly welcome you. We'll provide your families and children with the same standard of living as Belarusians in terms of education and healthcare. Many have already come to the Homel region and are working. We're ready to accept them. For us, Ukrainians are a blessing, very hardworking people who understand us and speak the same language. Still, it's a tragedy. Trouble has come to our neighbor's home. I think we'll sort this out in time, but it's no longer your problem, it's mine. Nevertheless, the state and the president must ensure at least a decent life for everyone.
Friends, be sure to share your thoughts about this in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.